Welcome to AfricaCom 2018, where we are shaping Africa's digital future. With me this morning is Botlenyana Mokhele, ICASA Councillor. Thank you very much for joining us. Good morning.
Morning, thanks for having me on your show.
We are in an exciting, dynamic, ever-changing industry. What sort of pressure does it place on you as a regulator?
Well, I always say that the regulator's mandate is very clear. You know what you want to achieve. It's to regulate in the public interest. On one hand, you want to create a stable environment to attract investment. On the other hand, you want to make services accessible to people. But what is pressure-filled about this new environment is that it's the dynamism, the changes in technology, the changes in markets, the unpredictability. And so as a regulator, it's very difficult for you to practice what we call regulatory forbearance, knowing when to regulate and when not to regulate, to encourage innovation and to achieve precisely those things that I mentioned about public interest. The pressure comes more around knowing when what to do and what not to do.
Now, yesterday you were participating in a panel discussion around free-to-air channels. We know they're under quite a lot of pressure at the moment. What were some of those key takeaways for you?
Well, the key takeaway was that, the new environment is double-edged in the sense that public broadcasters have a historical advantage. They have a big audience base. They are well established. They are well known. Their programming is very popular in South Africa. But on the other hand, they have competition from people that necessarily have the same regulatory pressure or the regulatory obligations. So for me, the key takeaway was for broadcasters and established broadcasters that they have to find a balance. Draw from what they know best, draw from their niche, but at the same time take advantage of the new technology to expand their footprint and to service even younger people who are now more technology savvy than their traditional audience base.
So how can the public broadcasters, if you like, the free-to-air broadcasters, remain relevant in a world that is increasingly driven by digital technologies?
See, the issue is that the only thing that's changed is the technology. And as I've mentioned, there's a uniqueness to public broadcasting, which fortunately for South Africans is what they prefer. I mean, if you look at the top 10 programming, they're local, which is what public broadcasting is all about. They are news and actuality, which is precisely what public broadcasting is all about. And as we know that in broadcasting, content is king. So they have that advantage. The only thing that they really need to do is to start embracing new technology and find interesting way to draw younger people. Because younger people, the millennials, are multi-screen users. So as much as the core business model of public broadcasting is on linear, they should start embracing new technology, should start being more innovative, get involved in social media, encourage young people to interact with their programming and so forth. Last week, I was at a SABC conference and I was quite heightened by the fact that the NBC, which is the Namibian Public Broadcasting Service, has launched an OTT service, which I think a whole lot of other SADC public broadcasters can embrace that model, that you collaborate and that you actually leverage new technology. You already have content that's compelling, you already have content that people really love, and I just think that you need to just now start using new platforms a bit more to complement your traditional linear broadcasting service.
Now, we're quite delayed, sadly, in South Africa in our switch to digital, right?
Yes.
And I'm hoping that we're going to see a ramp up in attention and urgency in addressing that.
Yeah.
There are obvious opportunities, but I imagine some challenges in that switch as well.
Yes, I think it's the cost. It's the cost of the switch. You now have multiple channels that you have to find content for. And we all are aware of the pressure that, for instance, SABC is under. Now, how do they make the switch in such a way that they're able to fill all those channels that are going to be available for them? And for me, I think that's the biggest. How do you source content? And how do you, because with the switch over, you have almost twice as much costs of providing programming. And with the kind of funding challenges that they find themselves under, I think that is going to be like one of the biggest challenge.
Because the SABC is unlike other national public broadcasters around the world.
Yeah.
There is a very important and necessary component of commercial broadcasting within its stable.
Yes.
And there's, I imagine, always a healthy tension between the guys who are making money within the public broadcaster and the guys who are spending it.
Not necessarily. And I think, and if I recall, the policy imperative around allowing commercial broadcasting was to precisely assist in subsidizing the guys that are not making money. I just think it's around efficiencies of the public broadcaster, finding better, more innovative ways of operating. I mean, I think the pressure that they find themselves is everybody's around it, and a public broadcaster that size, the operational costs and the salary costs, which we've recently heard, are quite high. And I just think that it's for the management and the board to find efficient ways of operating the SABC. The idea that there's this commercial arm and there's this public arm, I think actually even the BBC itself has that sort of funding model, as much as they are better funded. But yeah, so for me it's around leveraging efficiencies and finding better, more innovative ways of working.
Oh, Butle, thank you very much indeed for your time this morning. We wish you and ICASA and the regulator all the best in the year ahead, and do enjoy the rest of your AfricaCom 2018 conference.
Okay, will do. Thank you for having me.